Thousands of mail-in ballots were thrown out during Texas's primary elections earlier this month. According to a CBS News analysis, at least 16,800 mail ballots were rejected across 14 of Texas's 25 counties with the most registered voters. That equates to about 15% of mail-in ballots returned in those counties. This is the first major election since Texas Republicans passed a new election law called SB 1. The bill received significant pushback from Democrats and voting rights activists. County election officials said the majority of mail-in ballot rejections happened because of improper identification information. The identification needed to vote changed with SB 1. For more on that, I'm joined by Jack Fink, political reporter for our Dallas-Fort Worth station, KTVT. Jack, is there any way to measure whether or not the thrown-out ballots had any impact on either party?
Well, nice to be with you, Scott. We are still waiting for final numbers from the Texas Secretary of State's office. But one thing we do know is that the Associated Press is reporting this afternoon that by its count, nearly 23,000 mail ballots were rejected in Texas, about 13% of all the mail-in ballots in the Texas that took part in the March 1st primary. Now, this was for 187 of the state's 254 counties. So it's not a complete list, but it's certainly the most complete list that we have seen so far. We do not know the numbers, though, just yet on how many mail ballots were corrected, but the AP says that most of them were not corrected. One thing we also know is that this was far higher than what we have seen in previous Texas elections as far as mail ballots. And one of the things that really tripped up people was this new requirement to put on ID verification. They had to put on their Texas driver's license or ID number or the last 4 digits of their Social Security number. And when people put those numbers on and they did not match what they registered to vote with, they were rejected. Now, the state did give people time, about 6 days after the March 1st primary, to go back and make their corrections. But again, the AP is saying that really did not happen. Republicans said they just wanted to make sure that people who are voting by mail go through the same ID verification process as when people go to vote in person. Democrats, though, said this was another form of voter suppression.
Less than 8 months till the general election. What challenges does SB 1 face, and what obstacles will it face between now and then?
Well, there are a lot of lawsuits filed against the state of Texas by various organizations and by the Biden administration. And this is throughout the federal courts in different jurisdictions in the state of Texas. Those challenges are ongoing. We are waiting to see how this all shakes out. So we don't know exactly just yet, but we've got a primary runoff happening on May 24th.
Well, speaking of the courts, Jack, the Texas Supreme Court ruled against abortion providers in a federal lawsuit. What more can you tell us about that ruling and what that ruling means?
Well, basically, this essentially ended the legal challenge for abortion providers who told us they were devastated by this ruling by the Texas Supreme Court last Friday. As you would expect, the abortion opponents cheered this, calling this a major legal victory. The U.S. Supreme Court last year found that most Texas officials, the Attorney General, county district attorneys, could not enforce this law. But one question that the U.S. Supreme Court had was, could Texas medical officials, could Texas licensing officials enforce the law? So they asked one of the lower courts, the U.S. Court of Appeals, the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans, to make this determination. That court instead turned to the Texas Supreme Court, which ruled on Friday that, in fact, those Texas medical and licensing officials could not enforce it, and that this law could only be enforced by civil lawsuits filed against abortion providers who would face at least a $10,000 fine per procedure if found guilty. And so the law basically says that abortions cannot be performed after embryonic cardiac activity is detected, which can be as early as 6 weeks, when many women don't even know that they are pregnant. And so now many people here in Texas are waiting to see what the U.S. Supreme Court decides on the Mississippi case later in the year.
There are so many legal challenges you're following. Last month, Texas Governor Greg Abbott ordered parents of transgender children to be investigated for possible child abuse. A judge recently put an end to those inquiries. But what did the investigations entail, and how likely is it that they come back?
Well, Scott, this has certainly created a legal uproar and somewhat a political uproar here in the state of Texas. This actually goes back several weeks to mid-February, when the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, issued a non-binding legal opinion that certain forms of care for transgender children constituted child abuse. We're talking about puberty blockers. We're talking about hormonal therapy. And then Governor Abbott went in and ordered the state Department of Family Protective Services to investigate any complaints and where parents or doctors were performing this care, specifically on puberty blockers or surgery. A family sued the state, and then a state judge not only blocked that case, but 8 other investigations that were taking place that the state had initiated after the governor's order. And so right now there is still disagreement between the state of Texas, the Attorney General, and the transgender community as to whether or not these investigations can continue. The state has appealed this decision to the 3rd Court of Appeals here in the state of Texas. On Sunday, the transgender community, children, their parents, and advocates were rallying outside the Texas governor's office in the Texas Capitol to make their feelings known. They feel very targeted by this. But the Texas governor's political consultant told reporters, including me, after the March primary, that they believe most Texans are on their side on this. So we still have to wait and see how this all shakes out, both legally and politically.
And none of this is happening in a vacuum. It is, of course, happening in a big statewide elections year. In Dallas-Fort Worth, Jack Fink, thanks for your time.
Nice to be with you.